State House lawmakers are back in Harrisburg next week, and joining us this morning on the Fox 43 Capitol Beat is State Representative Dan Moul of Adams County. Talk about some of the biggest issues facing state lawmakers for the rest of 2019 and beyond. I do want to thank you. You just told me that we should be a part of the Thanksgiving family reunion. So when we come over to the Moul House Thanksgiving, what's in store? What are the sides and all the fixins?
It's all the traditional things that any other family would have on Thanksgiving, and we've been actually getting together with the same family at the same table for just about 40 years now.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
And we put everything behind us, and we're just grateful for the time that we have together.
Your favorite dish is what?
Oh, I've got to go with the stuffing and with a lot of gravy on it. Maybe mix a little mashed potatoes in with it.
Football's on, right?
And sleep.
Football and sleep. Okay.
Sometimes the TV watches me after that big meal.
In no particular order. We wanted to start things light because there are some heavy topics going on in the state, some serious topics. And I wanted to ask you about MS4. And I'll let you explain what MS4 is and why people should care about it.
Well, people should care about it because it's your tax dollars, okay? Municipal separate storm sewer systems, okay? And basically, it's been nicknamed by a lot of people the rain tax. Not everyone has it. It hasn't been instituted to every single jurisdiction or municipality, borough. It's more of a shotgun effect depending on the criteria that DEP says that you would have to meet in order to have to implement MS4.
Is this the DEP's decision to implement this, or is this the federal government?
Well, the federal handed it down to DEP under the Clean Water Act, which that's a huge umbrella, okay? The Fed said you need to do something. They handed down a small portfolio and said, work towards this. DEP took that small portfolio and expanded it and literally threw it in the laps of all the boroughs and townships to try and figure it out on their own. The problem that I have with MS4, the way it's being implemented to every township and borough that has been forced into implementing it, is that they don't take any empirical data. No stream testing has been done. So if somebody says, we want to lower the amount of pollutions, runoffs, and so forth in the streams, don't you think it would be a good idea to actually have somebody take water samples in those streams at different times of the year, after different events, different rain events, different drought events, so that you know where your baseline is? An actual starting point would be a good thing to know. DEP is letting it all up to the engineers and the townships, so the engineers that work for these townships and boroughs, and in a lot of cases, I've come to find out these are not environmental engineers, and they're basically taking arrows, shooting them into the dark, hoping something hits, but those arrows are made up of taxpayer dollars.
I know there's a lot, there's a hearing that just happened, and there's a lot to this. So we have to move on to other topics because there is a lot going on. The bill that you currently have in the House, which would legalize certain skill games, and we're talking things like tic-tac-toe, you press a button and you stop, things like that, which is currently illegal. The lottery, Pennsylvania Lottery, says they're losing a ton of money, $125 million right now, and then that could double or triple if your bill comes to pass. Your response to that?
Well, I think they're wrong about that. The problem is, what I'm dying to do is bring these games of skill into the Small Games of Chance Act. In other words, they wouldn't be legal to show up in laundromats. They wouldn't be legal to show up in some stores that don't have liquor licenses and so forth. These things are showing up everywhere. And let's keep something in mind. It's not illegal to play games of skill. It is only, in my mind, and the way I read and interpret the law, it's illegal to pay off on those.
The lottery, though, you hear it all the time, impacts older Pennsylvanians.
Absolutely.
And they're losing that money. So
absolutely.
What's the fix to that?
Well, right now we have Small Games of Chance in private clubs and for nonprofits, okay? So if you have a liquor license, you can get a Small Games of Chance, as long as you follow the same standards that are set forth by the Small Games of Chance Act that was passed and revised a few years ago. These games of skill weren't even on the radar when that passed. Keep in mind, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, those are actually games of skill.
Sure.
Nothing illegal about playing them. The illegal part in my mind comes in is when you pay off on them And there was a judge's decision in, I think, Beaver County that made it legal. His interpretation, because it's a game of skill, made it legal.
I want to ask you about recent press conference House Democrats had in which they introduced legislation to strengthen hate crime laws. And currently, crimes against the LGBTQ community are not considered hate crimes. Why has there been so much pushback by Republicans in the House and Senate to include the LGBTQ community in that?
Well, hate crimes, in a sense, usually goes with ethnicity. Okay, in my opinion, if somebody's black and you create a crime against somebody that's black because of their skin color, that's a hate crime. You know, the Ku Klux Klan.
But in your mind, not because of how they identify themselves?
No, that would also be a hate crime. But what I'm saying is it normally would be. Now it's being brought to light that the people of those communities, if you create a crime against them because of their gender identification, because of their preferences, that's also a hate crime, in my opinion. I would have no problem including them, and I shouldn't say them, but I would have those organizations, those people that identify with those groups, I have no problem including that, as long as the crime was based upon their gender or their beliefs in life.
So you're on board with the Democrats?
I'm on board with
Representative Frankel and kind of what the proposals are.
As long as they don't go outside the boundaries. I'm all for that. If somebody commits a crime against somebody because they're gay, in my opinion, that's a hate crime. I will agree with Representative Frankel on that one, absolutely.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up right there. State Representative Dan Moul of Adams County, Gettysburg area, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Beat. Fox 43 Morning News will be right back.